Hey there nerds, Jimmy Palmquist here, and I wanted to do a little drive time movie review on Terminator Genisys. It just came out on Blu-ray and video download, and I'll be honest, I never saw it in the theaters. I did see and hear all the reviews that were, for the most part, lukewarm to negative, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this review. I downloaded it and watched it on iTunes. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it is Terminator 2 good, but I do think it was worthwhile. I think it was a good watch. I really enjoyed the way they rewrote the history. How we have sort of this running commentary from Kyle Reese's character, played by Courtney. And honestly, at first, I thought it was John Connor's talking. And then when he mentioned that something along the lines of, I wasn't alive when, the bomb went off, or I don't have any memories of when the bomb went off, and I'm like, whoa. You guys are rewriting Terminator 2? Like you're taking that history out completely? And then, of course, they reveal that, no, it was Kyle Reese talking. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Although I will say, now we're messing with the timeline that was Sarah Connor Chronicles, which I thoroughly enjoyed. That TV show. It was phenomenal. But I am realistic, and I understand that a new production company owns the rights, so why would they take that into account? And to that matter, let's be honest, we're dealing with time travel, and the timeline has been messed up several times over. They address that really well in this movie, and I think that's a way we can say, hey, you don't want to take into account the Terminator Salvation happened, although I enjoy that movie. You don't think that should be included in the canon? Not a problem. We're dealing with time and time travel. So, it's gone. Doesn't exist because the timeline was rewritten. No problem. Oh, we don't want Rise of the Machines in there? No problem. Timeline was rewritten. We have new dates for Skynet to become self-aware. We have new things happening. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. I dig that. I like how we're sort of dealing with this, and we're showing that the timeline has been recreated, messed up. It was moved forward, moved back. The fact that we have John Connor, played by Jason Clarke, and to be honest, when I first saw the trailers coming out on TV, and we saw that John Connor was assimilated into Skynet, it was disheartening because it feels like they just gave away a huge twist. But it wasn't really a twist, it was sort of a character development. And after seeing the movie, I'm like, oh, I'm not bothered by that. It really wasn't a twist per se. That's his character. He is now part of Skynet. It's not really a twist at all. So I appreciated that. But having his character now further in the present, past, wherever we are, advancing the technology that is Skynet quicker, really made me think. And that was one of the first things I thought when old Arnold Schwarzenegger killed young Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the 1984 timeline. And I first thought was, wow, they now have control of the pieces that were used in Terminator 2 to advance the technology, Miles Dyson, past the point of anything they'd ever seen. So how did Skynet come about then? And then we see, well, John Connor, now a part of Skynet, came back in time as well and has affected the timeline and advanced things. It's like, oh, wow, cool. So I like how they deal with those things. To be honest, one of the things I was disappointed with, which really bothers me because T2 advanced special effects beyond anything we could imagine at the time. It was really cutting edge. I felt like the special effects in this film at times were not great. Tron Legacy came out several years ago now, and I thought the de-aging process they pulled off on Jeff Bridges actually looked better at times than what they did with Arnold in the 1984 timeline. I just wasn't thrilled with it. I thought it was very not awesome. And again, I didn't see it in the theater. I'm seeing it at home on my own TV, and a lot of times the special effects just get crunched and compressed, and they don't look as good. So maybe that's what came across. But I didn't think they were all that good, and I think a Terminator franchise really needs to take that into account. I also didn't like how Bill Paxton was nowhere to be seen as the thugs in 1984. I was actually looking forward to that, to see what they did with him, and he wasn't even in it. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Okay. No, it's minor. Very minor. I love the relationship between Sarah Connor, played by Emilia Clarke, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, who she calls Pops, her Terminator. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was cool, and I thought the way Kyle Reese questioned that relationship, constantly saying, well, he's a Terminator, he's going to do what he's programmed. He's a Terminator, he's going to do what he's programmed. He's going to backstab you, betray you. But then when we see the backstory to Sarah Connor and how the Terminators went even further back in time to try and get her, and Pops was there to save her, I thought that was great. I'm sure people were just like, oh my God, that is so saccharine, I hate this. I enjoyed it. I really liked that part. I thought it was cool. And I thought Emilia Clarke pulled off a nice medium between Linda Hamilton's 1984 Sarah Connor and her Terminator 2 Sarah Connor, which are obviously two very different people. One is just an innocent, unassuming waitress, and the other one is a hardened soldier of fortune, basically. So I really thought that she did well in the middle there. I thought the storyline with some of their traps were great, and how they would prevent any kind of Terminator that came back, how they could try and take them out. One of the things that did bother me is that there's a point in the film where Pops has to be at a specific place at a specific time, and he knows it because he's sending Sarah and Kyle Reese into the future. And story-wise, he didn't make it there on time, so there were some difficulties that would push the story along further. And to me, he's a machine. Although he's Pops and he's been reprogrammed, he's still a machine. How would he not be there on time? How would he not just be sitting there for years at that spot to make sure that he was there? That bothered me. I didn't quite get that. And their only explanation was because it was LA, traffic. It's like, no, that doesn't cut it for me. Other than these minor things, I thoroughly enjoyed the story. I hope they follow through with the two sequels that they had already planned, making it a trilogy. I wasn't thrilled with the little end credit scene. I thought that was cheesy. I think we all knew that was coming about, so when it actually happened, it was like, yeah. I don't think we needed to actually see it. Now, I don't know how how ironclad this is as far as the rights to the Terminator franchise revert back to James Cameron, but supposedly that's why they greenlit 2 sequels, so that they could get their trilogy in, get their money in, get it out, and it's probably why the rights to the Terminator franchise auctioned off for rather cheaply when you consider what it is. But supposedly the rights revert back to James Cameron in 2019. What does this mean? No idea. Obviously James Cameron made the first and the second movies. He has said, I believe it was this one, he came out in an interview and said this one was great, and basically called the previous 2 crap. But, you know, whatever, he's biased. So totally understand that. But we'll see where it goes with him getting the rights. But I'm very curious to see how this trilogy ends up. I think they've done a great job of rewriting history, sort of laying a new foundation that the story can exist, while still using the previous movies that have been made. And I included all the movies, because to me, timeline was reset, we rewrote it, not a problem. All the movies can exist, no problem there. So I'm curious. I want to know what you guys think, because I know a lot of critics and diehard Terminator people did not like this movie. And to me, I love Terminator movies. I think are great. I think the franchise is great. I personally have liked all of them. Yes, they all have faults. I believe Terminator 2 is the best in the series, but I've enjoyed them all. I really enjoy the story that they've had, and to be honest, to go further, I enjoyed the Dark Horse comic book stories that came out not too long ago, about the time of the movie. Those were fantastic. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm going to give Terminator Genisys 3.5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Definitely worth a watch at home, on video, or Blu-ray.